Okay, so broad, very broad topic on this. I'm gonna say one
Okay.
sentence, and what's the thing that comes to mind here? Why do we game?
Entertainment, time killing, um, a way to escape reality. I mean, there's so many different reasons.
Okay, all right. But there's no
It's
wrong answer to
fun.
this. Yeah, it's just yeah, yeah. Um, okay, and I always find that that's like um that's a very gamer mindset when it comes to gaming. It's like it's like because I was on that same thing back. It's funny that okay, my answer to it, business. It's you can there's so much art and development that goes into all this stuff, the love and the passion of the projects and everything, and then when you're in the moment of going through all the adventures and everything, just like holy shit, I'm never going to forget that, like this moment just happened, that sense of accomplishment when you get the boss fight done. Like there's so many IRL skills that I've learned via to going through these boss fights and do it, like hand-eye coordination to uh, I'm way more um, critical thinking wise, and I'm way more patient now than I ever was before. And yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's like the Souls likes that really knock that into you of like, okay, you need to have some patience, you need to really critical think, or you're just going to get your ass beat over and over and over again. Um, so I'd say, why do I game? It's like a, it's a big love for the game, but also it's kind of business now because this is the hobby turning into a job is that's kind of like there's a whole business behind all this stuff, and this is, to me, it's like, why do I game? That sense right there, that question right there is like almost the same reason why, it's the same thing you could ask, like, why do I play guitar? Back in the
hmm
80s and everything. Everybody was a musician back in the 80s. It's either that or you're like the family person or you're a wicked nerd and you're working at like IBM or some shit back in the day. It's like, but why do I game? Well, you know, the that the answer to that has kind of evolved over the years. I feel like, um, because like back in the day, it was just like, yeah, it was just okay, you can watch a movie, but then I can play the game of it. Cool, it's like that aspect of it, and yeah, a sense of reality, like 100% too. I agree with you on that. Of like back in the day, it was like, and this is one of the things where it's like you're saying it's the escape, and for me, it was like I get to travel.
As
Like
a kid, it
my
was.
my escape was kind of to be able to travel to the location, like Grand Theft Auto. That's the reason why I was so huge into Grand Theft Auto. I was like, oh my god, I get to go to New York. Oh my god, I get to go to Florida. Oh my god, I get to go to California and everything through these games. And that was like my way of traveling in that aspect. And of course, if you're in a household where it's like you know not the best of circumstances, and yes, that escapism in that aspect too. Um,
I like had a couple friends growing up, and aside from going out in the woods and grabbing a stick and be like, "This is my sword," and that shit.
yeah.
Gaming was the like.
The hangout.
I grew up with the super. I grew up with the NES. My friend next door had the Sega
Hmm.
Super. We play like Streets of Rage and shit, and it would be like and like a be start acting like we were those characters,
Hmm.
like as we're playing the game. Hell, we'd even use that some out when we're out screwing around in the woods, and this stick is a sword,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then it got into like Mortal Kombat. We'd like play fight like we were combat characters.
It's
That I mean, it opened a lot of imagination.
not my
Up.
broken neck, and they were just like, "This is all over now." uh,
No, it wasn't. I didn't get that.
I
We
do.
didn't get like physical with it. We like set at range and get over here and ice ball it and shit like that.
I think I had like as an only child, I was very sheltered. I think I had kind of a similar thing, but it was for me. It was like, um, you'd have your action figures when you were younger, but it's
Hmm.
like you watch a TV show or you watch a movie or something, and it's just like, man, that looks so much, that looks like so much fun and everything. And there's only so much you can do imagination wise with your action figures. And when gaming started
Hmm.
doing that, it was just like, oh shit, I'm actually in the world. I'm actually doing this. I'm controlling the character and whatnot. So for me, it was like, it's similar to that, but it was like, oh fuck, I actually get to play out these scenes for, I'm trying to think of a game from back in the day. Jurassic Park, I think, was a big one. That was the Jurassic Park game on the PS1. Was probably one of the first
Oh,
ones where it was just
I was
like,
thinking fucking the Sega,
I
the old
think,
Sega ones.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, technically, the Jurassic Park one on the PS1 was kind of like a sequel to the Sega. It's all that. What was it? It's like a SNES and a Sega one or something like that. But it was like there was a Jurassic Park game that came out when the PlayStation first launched, and it was like yes, we know we fucked up the last one, but here's something, we can do way more with this generation. And after watching the movie, I picked up the game of it. I was just like, this is awesome. I get to play as a dinosaur or whatever. And I remember that being like one of those first times where it's just like, holy shit, you watch the movie of it. And later on, that would turn into like, okay, the Matrix movies, and all of a sudden we have a Matrix game. It's like, holy fuck, we actually get to be in this world and everything. Um, and it's funny that we have crossovers now of like movie characters jumping in. Like Fortnite is probably the biggest fucking example of that now. Like now in Fortnite you have literally an action. Basically, this is the way I look at the gaming in a lot of ways too. Is it's not so much of it like being an art project, but it's like action figures for adults. It's video games when you really think about it. Like the character you're controlling on your screen is your action figure, and you're running through all these worlds that somebody else has, so many other people have made. So that's the artistic the part of it. But then you are just getting to be like that action figure runs through that the same way that you'd use your imagination out in the woods and everything. Now it's that same thing. I
Hmm.
think that's the reason why we all love gaming so much. It just, you know it takes us back to the action figures and all that. And then some people buy collectibles and they never stopped grabbing action figures. Ha ha! Ah, boy. And they made a business, an industry out of it. So it's like, also, I mean, you have a YouTube channel. Part of
Hmm.
gaming, why I game, like just to ask that question, part of it is 100% business too. It's like if you're trying to build up like, why in the fuck are you trying to build up a YouTube channel? What's the end goal of it?
Right now, it's a hobby for me. I mean, I would like to make money off from it, but
Bingo.
it's just one of those things. Like if it happens,
I
like
mean,
I'm just enjoying it. I'm showing my love for games, why I like them, and showing them off, like my playthrough to you guys. Still
it
like, and sometimes it's even like pointing out stuff to hey devs, you could this right here could be done differently
which
in your next
is
game.
that is also part of the business side of things too, is like having, even though devs are starting not to listen to as content creators because there's so many people that are whiny bitches, but in the end goal of it, whether or not you're even trying to go for the money part of it, if you're doing it well and you're doing a good job at it, you're going to end up there anyway. So it is kind of, whether you actually realize it or not, it's like that is kind of, that's kind of the end goal to all this shit now too, is, you can end up making money that lets you put that money back into your hobby to now all of a sudden you make into a business. So it's like, why do I game? Well, because it's going to help the hobby grow itself, because now everything is
Hmm.
monetization. We are in that world of everything is monetization. We don't, and maybe that's the reason why we don't have so many passion projects anymore. But it is kind of a weird thing to think of. Is like, you know, even even if you're just sitting there and you're just playing a game for the fuck of it and something crazy happens, what's the first thing that comes in your mind? Fuck, I should record that.
Yeah.
It's and what's the, oh, I want to share that, but what does that lead into? Oh, I'm getting views, I'm getting likes. No, it's again, the hobby has now turned into the business. So why do I game? Yes, it is. Maybe it's just me, being a content creator for so fucking long that my brain is like, this is kind of just like, music is starting to catch back up again, but it's like gaming is, it's the thing. It is the main thing. Like, I could sit here and do 10 movie reviews, but it doesn't translate as much as this game did this thing and cool, all that stuff, but yeah, I just like somebody. I will admit, I heard that off from. I clicked into a random streamer. It's just and they brought up the whole thing of like, why do people like games so much, and like the psychology behind it. But then that's where it popped in. I'm like, why do we game? And I didn't fully agree with the psychology behind, because basically what the psychology professors are trying to say, from what I was getting from what the streamer was saying, was that basically it's the dopamine fix. And I'm like, like that's a small part of it now. Like,
It's for me, the dopamine thing is like that game, and I start, yeah, and then you get further in the game, the trophies stop popping, and it's just I kind of start to lose my want for that game, and I start seeking that fix from another game, and it's that's why I have such a fucking massive library and a lot of back through going, I haven't beat that game yet. I should beat that game. Wait, hold on. I'm that close to getting a platinum. I'm gonna go ahead and get the platinum in that game too. Pat myself on the back, and then be like, okay, I 100% of them done.
See, that's where we're a little bit different. There is that if I was to say something as a dopamine fix, I kind of hate that fucking term, because it just reminds me back in the '90s of like, these kids are getting their dopamine fix and they're getting addicted to gaming. It's like, oh, there's a cool story happening, just like you sit there and watch a fucking movie all the way through.
Yeah, exactly. So like you're controlling you're
and that makes it
like stories like here, but you get to enjoy the action. Some of these stories you actually get to affect the outcome at the end.
Yeah, and the big thing of like, especially growing up, I was, growing up in the era just before gaming really took off. As like, because the '90s was the era where gaming really, like, it was a household brand thing then. Going into that, I remember when we only had movies, and it's just like you just sit there all day, just, that was cool. Okay, next. Yeah, that was cool. Next. Okay, whatever. Next. You're just sitting there like, there's no interaction. You're not doing anything. You're just kind of just, duh. and now it's just like, oh fuck, I actually made it through that. You have that feeling of like, damn, I just accomplished something. And maybe that is the dopamine fix there, but really, I think for me, it's like the payout of all the action, and what does the story pay out, because there's a lot of times you don't get a dopamine fix off in fucking games when you finish them. You're like, that story sucked ass at the end. It was good journey, but the ending fucking sucked. It's Elden Ring DLCs of what we were just talking about there in the last video of like yeah, like that's, the Elden Ring's DLC has a shitty ending to it. It's because they're trying to get you to go back into the main game. There's really no payoff in the ending of it. So, okay. But again, it's just like, is it all about the dopamine fix nowadays? Maybe part of the dopamine fix is getting the likes and the views on videos and everything too.
It can be. I mean, when I go and pop up a short and I go check it like 2 days later, and I got views on it. I'm like, holy shit!
I'm trying to think of like, I definitely still feel that after all these years of like, oh wow, that video did really well. But it's for me, it's like, if a video doesn't do well, it's just kind of, oh, people just don't give a shit about that game. It just fell off. All right, and then you go on to the next one. It's just that indicator of like, oh, okay, people are just like, they're not in. Trying to think of, because you get 3 responses And this kind of goes into why or why people game in general. Also, like, you get three responses on videos a lot of times. One, this is the best game ever made, it's the greatest thing ever. The other one is, games are the most trash thing ever. They used to be so good back in the day, and now they're absolutely trash. Da da da. And then you have the third one, which is I guess just kind of nothing at all. It's there's just it's just kind of like it's just there. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just there. And when again, it's the rest. It pops in my brain, the wrestling thing of, like, if they're not making noise, whether good or bad, that's a very bad thing. If they're just neutral and they're bored, that's a terrible thing. That means that game ain't gonna be around for too much longer. But yeah, I guess to the overall thing of, like, why do I game? I think I think for me it is a lot of, like, the travel, going to different universes, or traveling around the world. Going, like, Assassin's Creed is one of my favorite series ever, because you get to travel around the world in different time periods, and you get to experience that in a way that you, like, oh, you can read the history. No, you can watch as many movies or read as many books as you want to, but if you are walking through literally from over the shoulder of a person that is in that era and everything also, and thinks that same way and whatnot. Now the problem is people don't think the same way in that era as they would, because there's no way of translating that in modern day speak, I guess you could say. That goes into a topic for another channel, but people didn't think the way that they do now. And even when you're playing Assassin's Creed or something, like, here's the thing too. If you play a game that is set in the medieval ages, you think they're going to be talking perfect English like we do now?
No.
Exactly. So basically,
they speak the ye old English.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things where it's like, where art thou, this, thou, that? Yeah. If a developer studio had really a lot of balls to them, they would make one that sound like it's not comedy. It's taking itself super serious, but it's spoken in the old English like that. If somebody had the balls enough to make that, that'd be a very interesting thing to see. I don't think I've ever seen that, because anytime they're like, "Where art thou? They shall thou do," all that stuff, it's comedy, or it's just a really cringy ass, like, and technically, actually, really, it's just comedy a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of games that like do that kind of stuff, they do take a lot of like, you'll see a lot of God, the fuck am I thinking? Easter eggs from, like, Monty Python, and, like, sometimes I haven't seen anything from the Princess Bride, actually. That was another good one.
I think I've seen, like, maybe one or two references in something way back. It's like the developers were saying, like, we took it from this and nobody got it. Nobody understood the reference, but we thought it was funny. It's like, okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's again, it's just a little talking point that I was thinking of, like, like I said, why do I game, and just all the different points of, like, that come out of that broad term of everything. So anyways, that's 3 videos in a row. All 3 videos should be up on the channel as soon as this one goes up. So once again, that's the wrong button. Subscribe button
push
up
the
here.
wrong button.
Yeah, you're gonna hit the subscribe button. And on the Beard Arthur channel, my channel, even though he gave some insight, he was a bit talkative on this one.
I was here. I mean, like, you were just going on and on and on. And I was just like, okay, I'll let you the spotlight.
It's that's why I have the series, because I can just talk. This is why I'm a good streamer. Anyways, subscribe, hit the button, do the thing. Thanks for that. And yeah.